Hi there. I kind of want to do this as fast as possible, but without losing the integrity of what I need to say. Unfortunately, people upstairs have the TV on quite loudly, and I had to ask him to turn it down. And that's kind of just London life for you. There's a lot of noise that sort of carries through. Anyhow, I just wanted to really address the fact of making small changes in our lives. One of the kind of mantras I had back in 2001 when I first set up Global Model Coaching, which is a coaching company basically that was particularly targeted towards models and dancers and people on the go, any business person on the go as well. I was offering lifestyle packages, physical packages, nutritional packages, and had different therapists who were signed up who would offer some of the services that people needed. But one of the things I particularly always said to people was to, to make some change, however small, to enhance your life each day. And I was thinking that was very poignant in our times now as well, or this day and age, especially as we always, and I always say this, that there's a lot going on. And sometimes the smallest of changes that we can make for ourselves can really, really enhance our well-being as well as our life, really, in terms of how we feel for ourselves or feel, or think of ourselves and feel. And I think the tendency sometimes is to want to do too much too soon. I certainly saw that as a myself when I was a practicing personal trainer, both in myself, but I was very careful about how I worked with my body, and I still do that. In terms of be really cautious, really aware about how to build things up. But I know a lot of people also tend to really like to sort of really go gung-ho to make this commitment, at certain times of the year or, to particularly New Year's time that, you're making these changes and you put all these ideas and want to implement them as soon as possible. And then you start going gung-ho. And so you expect to train, 5-6 days a week when you've not even hit the treadmill in months, and your energy level or your fitness level does deplete within 3-4 weeks of doing nothing. So we need to start taking stock and making small changes that builds up into the increments of becoming stronger and much more adjusted in whatever change we want to make. So say we take example for making a dietary change. Again, if you're going to go paleo or gluten-free or grain-free, I personally feel it's always better for ourselves and the mind and the body that we start sort of tailoring it by making changes slowly. So omitting a few grains, maybe if that's what you're inclined to do, a grain-free diet, or if you want to start giving up meat. I think meat one's a bit more of an easier one to do without having to sort of, kind of cut it out altogether. But again, I always say when I work with clients and people that when you want to make a change, make the changes gradually. So maybe you want to finish the stock of meat that you've got in your freezer, or certainly in the fridge, or your fish, or whatever flesh protein that you might decide to cut out. You might want to start changing some fat levels. And I bring all these increments, because diet now is such a huge emporium of different opinions, different experts telling you this and different that. And I think it's one of those things that you start having to listen to your body, which is ultimately always my message. And right now, for example, I'm kind of wanting to, really cut back on my meat. I feel that since I've reintroduced meat into my diet, I've noticed a lot more change, a lot more increase actually in body fat. Myself, I think it's too much of a denser energy for me personally, and when I look back at the days when I didn't eat meat hardly at all, I only ate it when my body really, really craved it, and it would inform me even when and what it wanted to eat. So then that's how I dealt with eating my chicken. Sorry, my cat's just come in and decided to meow. Not now, Oscar darling. Anyhow, I digress slightly. So I really want to say, when you make changes, make it really gradual, because you tend to stick with it as well. Back in the day when I was cut out of dairy and I wasn't, sort of left home and wasn't particularly interested in sort of maintaining sort of the way my parents fed me and stuff like that, and went to uni, I really made changes, gradually. I went from full fat down to semi-skimmed to skimmed. And then eventually I quit milk altogether. I went into soya milk, which I now don't touch. But you kind of make adjustments, so they're all about longevity. Now I don't even really drink any kind of milk. I might do the occasional almond milk. I always have one in the fridge, or maybe some coconut milk. But I tend to have that if I feel like a smoothie. But again, that's not my regular intake. I just tend to sort of prefer other beverages than filling myself up with a smoothie. Each to their own. But what I do want to leave you with some pointers really is, make and decide what choice of change you want to make, and stick to one first. So if it's going to be, say, your diet, then make that change and build up the changes in the space of a week or two, whether there's an omission or bringing some more vegetables in, or introducing things in. And say you wanted to get into like a fitness regime as well, or a body regime of some kind, then I recommend that you also start doing that gradually, possibly after you introduce the changes in your diet. Because I think, doing too much too soon, you're not going to stick it out, and it becomes very much a willful thing. And I strongly believe that we tend to make far more beneficial changes when we are much more sensitive to our body. I'm not the sort of person to get the whip out, get the whip out, start doing this, and you've got to change that, and you've got to start working out like this. And, I feel that the body you respect the body, you honor it more, and what it does is honors you back, and it tends to nurture you just as much as you need to nurture it. It starts in that way around. The other thing is, when you make these changes as well, make sure that you surround yourself with positive people. So your partner or your family members are supportive of you, your colleagues at work are supportive of you, or if you know that people aren't that way inclined to be, then don't tell them the changes you are making, so you are not defeated by other people's negativity or their opinions about what they may or may not think. Sometimes people tend to be negative in their thoughts and project that because they might feel quite threatened by the changes that you're making. So again, do surround yourself with people who will support you on your changes that you're making, and don't bother with the rest, or just don't share it, really. The other thing I think is really important is to adopt a very flexible idea about the changes you're making. So, say you'd set yourself up to train the next day. That was one of the changes you're going to implement. You're going to do it 3 times a week, and it was going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And come Wednesday, you found that you're just feeling really tired, especially in the morning. You thought, oh God, that's the last thing I can do right now. Honor it, just okay, bypass it. Just decide that you are not going to do that today. And perhaps see what the day brings. You might find that you've got more energy after lunch that day, and you're able to get your trainers on at about 3 or 4 o'clock, or maybe even after work, if that's your schedule, that you're working for somebody and you do it after work. So you're not ruled it out, but what you do is you start working within your intention and your commitment to yourself, but also within what your body's telling you. Again, I'm just not into that forceful idea of working out or doing anything really. I think it's really harmful, and I think while discipline and focus is really important, I feel that the discipline naturally comes when you feel inclined, when there's a generator in your being that stimulates that. I recall when I was in my 20s, and into my about 33, I trained religiously every day. I never hardly missed a day apart, and I always had a day off, but I never rarely, if at all, I can't recollect any time where I had to force myself to go to the gym, to run or do anything. It just came naturally from my body. It just loved it. It was what it wanted to do at the time. I was going to dance classes. I was training hard. I was weight training. I was running by the river. I was working my clients outdoors. I had this sort of incredible hunger as well as energy for that kind of work. And now I don't have the same energy at all. In fact, I hit a brick wall around my training in when I was about 33, 34. And then I, kind of was a bit of a no man's land for a while. And then I started developing much more the kind of holistic, much more the yoga-based exercises, and integrated that more in my personal practice as well as my teaching. And over the years, I've become much more sensitive to listening to my body rather than, I was listening to it then, but, I haven't gone back into that thinking, I have to do it every day. And, as some people really kind of encourage us to do or feel that we need to do. There's no have-tos at all. there is the inclination to want to. And I think when you start coming from a place of wanting to, or listening to the energy of the body, then you will do that. So again, just, and then again, align yourself with the goals, for your purpose. So for me, say training and eating well is because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel good. So, I don't do it to lose a dress size, although that'd be really great. Especially as I'm sort of two dress sizes bigger than I used to be. But anyway, but at the same time, at the same token, my love for going outdoors and working out and eating well is because it just makes me feel good, and it just is nourishing to my well-being. And finally, take the opportunity each day to reflect on how you did in the day, and pat yourself on the back or thank yourself, that you're well done, and, thank your body. I thank my body all the time, my feet, my heart, my circulatory system, my respiratory system, all these things we take so much for granted. And sometimes I lie in bed before I close my eyes and fall asleep. I'm in such awe of how wonderful our body is and how amazing it is and how it supports me. And I thank it in every possible way, and I just let my mind wander in whatever it wants to thank it for the day for, but particularly acknowledge and reflect what you have achieved. And if you haven't achieved your plan or your intention or goal for the day, just know that it wasn't the day for it. And before you know it, you will cultivate on a rhythm that really fits you, fits your life style, and also, you get more done, or things happen. I'll give you a quick example before I close off. Yesterday I had a very stressful day. It was full of activity, and I was doing some volunteering work, and by the time I got back I needed to eat. This was 3 or 4 o'clock, and then I wanted to get on with some work that felt very urgent, and by the time I really had energy or anything to do, in fact I didn't have much energy for much, but I instead just rolled the yoga mat out and did some really lovely hatha yoga, got myself realigned, got myself calm. I just, and I thought how wonderful it is that I have the tools to be able to do that and to be able to put certain things into practice. And even if it was a half an hour, of gentle exercises that did me the world of good. And then I later on sat on my meditation mat and did some meditation for, about 20 minutes. And I felt much more balanced, much more out of the crazy energy that I felt. And was back to what I felt was, peaceful. So, adapt your day, adapt your work, your intention, your training, your decisions, your food choices, whatever it is, to suit and to fit in what you really, really want to do, because you will keep with it far more and make those small changes that enhance your life, much more of a longevity thing, which is really what it's about. So thank you for listening. I'm Rafah Saba, Lifestyle Intelligence Agent, Change Agent, and my motto right now is live a vibrant life. So thanks for listening, and speak to you soon. Thanks. Bye.